It's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. So I hope you're all well. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Vicky Marie. I'm in mainland Spain. It is 12:53. I'm a little late with the stream. I just had to get some things organised that I wanted to show you on here. And first of all, thank you, as always, to all my subscribers, to everyone who likes my videos, watches my videos, even my little trolley dollies. Thank you for watching. And special thanks, as always, to all my members. Why not consider becoming a member? If you like my channel, you want to support my channel, becoming a member. We do exclusive live streams every Tuesday and Thursday. And tonight's live stream, I'm sort of umming and ahhing between two things. I might put a poll out for the Carry On Chatting members, because it's Carry On Chatting members live tonight. I'm thinking that recently in the US, there was an execution. The death penalty still exists in a lot of American states. Of course, we haven't had the death penalty here in Britain for a long time, since it was the 60s, early 60s. So I wanted to have a little debate about that. Do people agree that the death penalty, should have been abolished? Or are there some cases where you think the death penalty should apply? Certainly in America they do. So every time somebody is executed, like recently there was somebody executed in one of the states, and of course it was a big, there was a lot of publicity about it, and I'd like to tell you about that. And it always brings up this question: is it even a deterrent? Does it deter people? Seems like more people are murdering more than ever nowadays. So even in states with the death penalty. So this is the one thing. The other thing I'd quite like to discuss, and I won't have time to do both on tonight's live, but is this super yacht sinking. And there's a lot of strange things around this sinking of this super yacht. And I would, we could talk about that. So I'm going to put a poll out to the Carry On Chatting members, who, for which of those two subjects you'd like to discuss tonight. Also, I'd like to say thank you to anyone who's bought me a Ko-fi, sent me a super sticker, or supported my channel in any way. Emails, nice messages. Thank you so much. Okay, now this particular case that we're going to talk about today, this only happened the other day. I think it was yesterday, actually, wasn't it? Or late Sunday night. Let me just check for when it actually happened. This poor lady, Alberta, which I'm just going to show you before I get started properly. I'll just show you a picture of her. So this lady, Alberta Obinim, 43 years old. Supposedly a mother to everyone, a pillar of the community, a churchgoer. And she was stabbed and she lost her life in Gorton, in the east of Manchester. And the other reason this case caught my attention, apart from the fact, of course, we've been discussing a lot of knife crime, mental health issues lately, because something's got to be done about this. I mean, really, I know Keir Starmer's got a lot on his plate. But knife crime, mental health issues, if this turns out to be, it's got to be mental health, isn't it? At the end of the day, 22-year-olds don't chase down people and stab them and kill them. And actually, there are other people in life-threatening condition in hospital after this incident. A 22-year-old man been arrested. So again, a young man. What is it with these sort of young men? Why is all their mental health being triggered? So that's what I'm going to talk about. But the other reason this attracted my attention in particular is because I know Gorton very well. or I did years ago. I had a very good friend that lived in Gorton. I used to spend a lot of time staying at her house. We went out. I've got a little bit of a story to tell you about what it was like then. Now, to me, Gorton is one of those areas in Manchester that many, many years ago, even before my time, it was a respectable area, you know, and then it just seemed to, you know, it just seemed to sort of go downhill somehow. I don't know how to explain it. And it was not because of immigrants, because of glue sniffing and stuff like that. It was young white adolescents that were causing the problems in Gorton from when I can remember, and when my friend lived there. And as I say, I'm going to tell you about something that happened to her and to me, because I was staying with her at the time in Gorton. Now, I also, now whether it's changed, whether it's got better, I know there are some parts of Gorton that are very respectable, probably more affluent than others, like there are in any place, I suppose. If anyone knows Gorton or lives in Gorton, let me know what it's like now. But we're going to talk about Gorton first of all. You know, have a look at it on the map and talk about what kind of place it is. First of all, though, I'm just going to say hello to everybody. So, hi David, hi Zuzu, hi Rini, hi Heather, hi Daniel, happy Tuesday to you too. Rena, I know it's sad, isn't it? Is there a safe area? Sometimes I think maybe you're safer in the bad areas. I don't know, because at least you know what to, you know to be careful. Because how many times do we see these things and they say, people, someone's going to say it on here. When I read through the article in the Manchester Evening News before, well, things like that just don't happen here. That is what people always say, isn't it? So yeah, there is no safe area. Probably not only in the UK. And the other thing I want to specify or to stress is this is not only the UK, this is all you know, Australia has got a similar problem. America, of course, it's gun crime they have rather than knife crime so much. You know, is it just that if somebody's going to do some damage to someone, doesn't matter if they've got guns or not, because they'll find a way to do it. Will they get a hammer? They'll get a kitchen knife. You know, you can't ban kitchen knives. You know, this is the problem. Where are people copying what the other things that they see, you know, on the you know, other cases that they see. You know, I've heard people talk about banning zombie knives and things like that, but a kitchen knife, you can't ban kitchen knives, and you can do just as much damage with a kitchen knife. There's something to me, you know, when I was young, maybe it's just we didn't have social media, so we didn't hear about things. That's possible as well. You never really heard of knife crime, or just wasn't. I think it's rare. I'm not saying it didn't exist, because of course it will have existed, but it was rare. You know, people didn't go out with knives. Some things happened in between. So I'm glad I was young when I was young, because we went out and never worried about anything like that. I mean, you see fights and things, but rare to see. Well, I've seen one person with a knife in my, you know, when I was young on a bus, going for another person with a pen knife, not a great big zombie knife or a great big bloody machete or whatever. That seems to be a recent thing, doesn't it? But I don't know what studies have been made. Don't forget, I'm just chatting here. I'm talking about anecdotal experience. You know, I don't know. I am going to read out some studies that have been made, you know, by people who do know and who do study these things. But I personally think more's got to be looked into. Why are these young people, mainly boys or mainly men, but not exclusively, why are they doing this? You know, is there correlation with, because a lot of young people now, there's a lot of fuss about drug taking, drinking, you know, drinking. I mean, we all drank a lot when I was young. That's what my generation did, but we didn't. This is different. There's a lot of talk about skunk cannabis and how it affects young brains. And people's brains are not developed. Girls' brains don't develop till they're 22, and boys' brains don't fully develop until they're 25. Now, that I do know is true because I've been told that by 2 psychologists, one of whom was a student of mine, and one of whom was someone who was treating somebody I know. So, that is true. So that's the problem. It's not the problem itself of smoking skunk marijuana, which incidentally people quite often say, oh, marijuana, it's natural. Skunk marijuana is not natural. It's full of chemicals, it's full of additives, and it destroys young brains. It literally does affect young brains that are still developing. So you know what it's like. Some people can smoke a few spliffs every weekend, and enjoy their weekend relaxing. Other people are smoking it from the minute they get up in the morning, smoking it all day. They can't get by without it, just like alcoholics. Some people like a drink in the evening or at the weekends. Some people can't get out of bed without reaching for a drink. So I think we've got to be aware of it's not a question of saying, oh, nobody should smoke marijuana. It's a question of young people smoking skunk marijuana. And I don't know if this is the issue with this case yet. I'm just saying I have seen it with other cases. It's a combination of things. Mate, they don't seem to be getting out and getting a job now. When I was 16, I was just told, get a job. Or, that's it, you're 16 now. You've got to go out and get a Saturday job. No questions asked. And then you start this culture of work. And I don't know if that's the same with young people now. It's like, I don't know, there's too many. Again, somebody that I taught Spanish to used to work for the civil service, who they did studies on things like this. Too many young people are not working. They're just sitting in their bedrooms. They're playing video games. They're smoking marijuana, which is quite cheap. So it's not an expensive drug in comparison to other drugs. And people think it's harmless, but it's not to a young person. And skunk marijuana definitely is not harmless. And of course, the other thing is it's socially acceptable. So I was told by one of these psychologists, marijuana was almost worse than other drugs, because if somebody sat down next to you and started shooting up heroin, you'd raise your eyebrows or try and do something about it. But some people smoke marijuana, it's socially acceptable. But it is really difficult. It's difficult to give up because it stays in your system longer than a lot of other drugs. And also this particular new brand of marijuana, if you like, not talking about the one when I was young, we used to smoke like the little, they look like OXO cubes. Not talking about that, talking about skunk marijuana that's full of additives. Anyway, I don't, I'm rambling on a little bit now, and I know there'll be people out there saying, oh, well, I smoke marijuana, it doesn't do me any harm. But are you 16, 14, 17? So once boys get to 25, that's only then that there's a reason why car insurance companies keep the insurance high until someone's 25. There's a reason for that, because that's only then when they start to see consequences, sense of responsibility, all the things that adults are supposed. Mind you, looking at those riots recently, you think, God, even the adults in Britain, you think, are they even, are their brains fully developed? But do you see what I'm saying? So it's a very difficult thing to worry about. It's just, so I'm just thinking, is this person who is known to this woman and the other person that they've attacked, are they a young person? Well, they're 22, but is there any connection? May not be. It might be a domestic violence thing. We don't know the full details. It's just that to me, it seems like too many young people going out stabbing and murdering people just lately. Hi, Jawad. Yeah, I think the thing is, if people drink too much or take too many drugs, it's bound to affect them. But cannabis-induced psychosis is a thing. You know, it is a recognized, medically recognized problem. You know, it's not just something I'm making up. But anyway, we're going to start with talking about Gorton itself. Let's have a look at the map of where it is. So for any of you who don't know where Gorton is, like they say, it's in the east, it's in the north of the UK, it's in the east of Manchester. So here's Manchester Centre, and Gorton is over here. Let's see, let me just refresh that so we can actually get the name up. Yeah, here's Gorton near Debdale Park, Abbey Hay, Bellevue. Not far from Manchester, but it's not in Manchester Centre, if you like. It's in Greater Manchester, near Droylsden. Now let me make it near Stockport. You've got Stockport, Ashton under Lyne. And if we look at it as far as the UK is concerned, of course, there's Manchester. So Gorton is around about here. It's not a massive place, but it's not a tiny place either. And it's famous for one very famous person that probably a lot of you will know that was born in Gorton is John Thaw, who of course we know from Inspector Morse, and those of us who are even older will know from the Sweeney years ago, when he was in the Sweeney with Dennis Waterman. Many years ago, but a very, very good actor. He's been in lots of other things as well. And, you know, sadly missed because he's not with us anymore, but he's a good actor. Anyway, he was from Gorton. Okay. Now, the reason that, as I was saying, when I was... when I was young, very young, so many moons ago, I had a very good friend who lived in Gorton, and I used to go and stay with her at the weekends. We'd go out and I'd stay at her house, so I didn't have to worry about we could come home together, etc. Now I want to put the picture of Alberta up while I'm talking so that we Hey Heather, yeah, I thought you might know Gorton as well. Let me put the picture of Alberta up because we have to remember Alberta. You know, this is about her essentially, but it's a bigger picture, isn't it? All this knife crime, mental health issues. And in a moment, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened or what we know so far as to what happened in Gorton. But I just want to tell you, so one night, me and my friend, we went out for a night out in Manchester city centre, which is not that far from Gorton. We probably got a taxi home. I don't remember the details of how we got home. And as we went to her house, we walked up the path and she put her key in the door and she couldn't get the door open. And so she said, "No, the door must be stuck." And we're thinking, "Oh God, what we're going to do?" It was probably 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't remember exactly what time it was, but it was late at night. What we're going to do at this time, you know, to get in, the doors, the locks jammed. And then suddenly she just realized, she said, the bolts on the inside of the door. She said, someone's bolted the door from the inside. So it's like, right, what do we do now? So she's trying to get the door open. The door's bolted from the inside. So we went around the back, and her house, it was like one of those old terraced houses, and you'd have what we call a ginnel at the side. So like a little alleyway that you'd go through to get to the back of the property. And so we went, really, we were brave, really, when I think about it. We should have rang the police straight away. But of course, we didn't have mobiles then. So we couldn't have rang the police, actually, thinking about it. Because it's not like now you just get on your mobile and dial 999. You would have had to find a public phone to phone the police. Anyway, so we went up this ginnel, we went round the back door's wide open, and she's been robbed. So what they'd done, these lads, they were young lads, they'd heard, I'll tell you how we found out who they were. So they'd heard us coming home, as they'd put the bolt on the front door, run out, that legged it out of the back and over the yard, through the yard, and gone wherever they'd gone. They were probably locals. And she'd been robbed, so her whole house had been just tossed upside down. Now, I don't think she had loads of stuff taken. She didn't have a load of stuff, to be honest, but I think also it was thought that maybe they hadn't been in there that long. And the reason that we know who they were is because a couple of weeks later, she's on the bus in Gorton on the top floor, because she smoked. She went up onto the top decker of the bus. She's on the bus and she hears this gang of young lads, about 14 there were, these lads, all talking about robbing her house. So she realised, as she's listening to them, they're sat behind her, that it's her house they're discussing. It's her things that they're discussing, because she was a crazy Beatles fan, and she had, of course, it was cassettes in those days. She had every, Beatles album, whatever, anything the Beatles had ever released, she had on cassette. And one of the lads turned around, was saying to his friend, "Oh, it's all right for you. You got the whatever. I just got those crappy Beatles cassettes." So she literally got this boy by his ear and marched him off the bus and phoned the police. So I don't know what happened to him. They did get taken to court. They probably got community service or something like that. Who knows what happened to him in the end. But that's my experience of Gorton. So it always sticks in my mind. But yeah, they just got the crappy Beatles cassettes. That's what drove her mad when they said that, because that was her treasured collection of Beatles songs. And this boy was like saying, "Oh, I only got the crappy Beatles cassettes." But they literally were young boys, white boys, not immigrants. They were just young lads from around the area, young idiots, really. There was a lot of there's a lot of young people involved in crime. Even then, people go through this weird thing when they're teenagers. They do stupid things. Some of them come through it okay and go on to be worthwhile members of society. Some of them don't. God knows what happened to them lot. They were probably at those riots that we had recently. That's the sort of people I could imagine. Yes, Myra Hindley was from Gorton as well. Yeah, so it's not that I didn't, I was thinking more of positive people that were from Gorton. But yeah, Myra Hindley was from Gorton. Yeah. So now let's go to this incident. So that's my experience of Gorton, and I'm afraid it sort of sticks in my mind. I never think of Gorton being a brilliant place, but of course, as I say, anyone who lives in Gorton now, please tell me. I don't know what it's like now. I haven't been to Gorton for God knows how long, that was probably 40 years ago, which is a bit scary. So let's see what the Manchester Evening News has got to say about this story. So tributes to Mother to Everyone as woman 43 killed in a horror stabbing named Alberta Obinim. Always talked to people and was a mother to everyone. She was always laughing. Tributes have been paid to a woman who was stabbed to death in East Manchester, who has been named locally as Alberta Obinim. The 43-year-old died following a triple knife attack in Barnard Road, Gorton, last night. A 17-year-old girl. Oh, so August the 18th. Where are we now? So it was Sunday night. A 17-year-old girl and a 64-year-old man were also seriously hurt and are in a critical condition in hospital. And they are in a very critical condition. So I just hope, prayers that they pull through. And police have arrested a 22-year-old on suspicion of murder. Detectives say the suspect was known to the victims. So that makes me wonder, is it her son? Is this like a domestic incident? Is this her son? Known to the victim. So I thought maybe he was the boyfriend of the 17-year-old, but at that age, that's quite a big age difference, isn't it? I mean, not as people get older, but I think the difference between 17 and 22 is perhaps more unusual for a 17-year-old to go out with a 22-year-old. I don't know, but not unlikely. So it could be like, like the crossbow killings in Bushy, it was called, wasn't it, in London, where the guy went off and killed his ex-girlfriend, her sister, and their mum. So it could be that kind of thing. Anyway, family friend Ibrahim Abu, also known as Abudo, led the tributes to Miss Obinim, a mother of 4. So she's got 4 children. Is one of them the son? He told the Manchester Evening News she was a member of the city's Ghanaian community and attended Blessed Baptist Temple Church, which is based in Levenshulme. I know Levenshulme very well as well. So Princess Tia, if you can hear Princess Tia sort of whinging, so she's trying to get comfy on the chair and she seems to be struggling. You're going to curl up. She was a very nice lady, Mr. Abbott. They're always very nice ladies, aren't they, as well? All these, the women that get these people come out and say how nice they were. That's what makes me think of like psychosis as well, because why would you kill such a nice person? Unless she wasn't a nice person, but I'm sure she was. I knew her very well. We all go to church together. She always talked to people and was a mother to everyone. She was always laughing. Derek Weaff, another family friend, described Miss Obinim as a powerful and inspirational woman. And speaking to the Manchester Evening News after leaving white roses at the scene, a colleague of Alberta said the situation didn't seem real. Paying tribute, she said, she was amazing. She was lovely. I literally spoke to her just last week. She was so kind and caring. It's just a proper shock. She's got a lovely family. The 31-year-old, who did not give her name, said she worked with the woman, who was a care worker at Chrysalis Care, and the pair did home care in the local area. She added, I work with her quite often and everyone I spoke to at work is in shock. It doesn't seem real. I want to let her family know she was loved. Her family probably don't realise how much the girls do appreciate her. I don't think anybody would have a bad word to say about her. She was lovely, really nice. She was well loved at work, she added. She said, adding she was proud of her family. And commenting on what she was like as a colleague, she added, she was a laugh. She was just funny. I would non-stop laugh with her. The people we used to care for loved her. It was non-stop laughing with her. She was amazing. The people we cared for really loved her. She'll be missed. So a huge police cordon remains in place in Barnard Road as forensic officers comb the street this morning. 3 forensic tents are in place. So this will have been yesterday morning. Outside a house, in the road, and another in the front garden. Neighbours today spoke about horrific scenes they witnessed yesterday evening. One man said he was sitting in his car when he saw the knife man chase a girl down the street before stabbing her. I heard the neighbours saying, get in, said the man who gave his name as Reese. There was a guy with a knife chasing a girl, and I said, leave her alone, it's not worth it. She fell and he stabbed her. I turned my car towards him, but the girl was in the way. he started chasing my car with the knife. I mean, how scary. The thing is, when someone's completely lost it, we don't know that there's obviously some kind of psychosis. He's that, whether his primary target was the young girl, whether it was the whole family. Is he connected with this family? Who's the older man who's been stabbed? We don't know the full story, but whatever, we know that this is pretty scary. The guy's obviously lost it, and this poor guy is trying to help, but he's scary, isn't it? He's got a big knife. Anyway, another woman said she heard people screaming and saw a young man running in and out of a house. It just seems to me this is some sort of domestic incident. They were saying he's got a knife. It was terrifying. People were staying inside. No one wanted to go out. A huge police cordon remains in place in Barnard Road as forensic officers comb the street this morning. 3 forensic tents are in place outside a house in the road and another in the front garden. Neighbours today spoke about horrific scenes they witnessed yesterday evening. One man said he was sitting in his car. Oh, I think I've just read that, haven't I? Must have flicked up, sorry. So they were saying he's got a knife. She said it was terrifying. People were staying inside. No one wanted to go out. The injured girl and man suffered serious stab wounds in the attack, and their condition is believed to be life-threatening at this time, Greater Manchester Police said. And Detective Superintendent Toby Facey of GMP said, "We understand that the local community and further afield across Greater Manchester will be rightly shocked and concerned after waking up and hearing this tragic news this morning. Our thoughts remain with those affected and their loved ones at this difficult time. We're doing all we can to support them." Within minutes of a call being made, our officers were at the scene and an arrest had been made. An investigation has been launched. We're in the early stages of our inquiries. We have had detectives on the ground who have been working throughout the night, trying to get to the bottom of what has happened and why. So they're at that stage where they're appealing for information at the moment. Come forward if you have dash cam footage, etc. They always start off like that, and then they say, right, don't talk about it anymore, don't they? But anyway, so they're asking for information. Let's have a look at the BBC, what the BBC have to say. So yeah, again, this picture of Alberta, man been arrested. I don't think there'll be anything more here that was in the other report. But one person who lives within the cordon said he woke up to hear a lot of screaming and noises. Plainclothes officers have been seen knocking on doors, others in white overalls and protective clothing seen in the road. Another person said you don't expect to see such a large police scene in the area, while another said it was unexpected for such a nice, quiet place. That's what they always say, isn't it? So it's being treated as an isolated incident. I think it's got to be some sort of domestic incident, I think. But anyway, we'll find out as time goes on. Okay, so just come back to the chat. Hi, Seffi. Yeah, we don't know. I think it's going to be now. So I just think as we've talked about before. Oh, look, Tommy Robinson's joined the chat. Brilliant. So as we've looked at before, what is it? So it's like a combination of obviously knife. What they're going to do about these knives? How can you? I don't think you can do anything about the knives. You can't stop people having kitchen knives in their house. Do you know what? One thing I do remember, because there were some mental health issues in my family when I was young, I do remember my mum saying she would not have sharp knives in the house. As far as I knew, nothing like that had ever happened. But unless it's something I didn't know about, quite often you don't get to hear everything in your family history, do you? But no, she was very. So we had knives like to cut the veg and stuff, but they were just. We never had any of them dobbing great big chef's knives or anything like that. I know, Tommy Robinson, my God, Heather. Brilliant. Well, I'm just waiting for it, and then it's adios, Tommy. But we don't know. He might be good, who knows? Maybe he won't be a complete twat in my chat. Anyway, we'll see. So, yeah. But what can you do? So you can't have a sharp knife to cut your vegetables. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous. I know, Seffi, I know that. I'm only joking. I'm just waiting to see, because it's, it's like just interesting to see what transpires. We'll see. So I've forgotten what was said. Oh, so going back, I want to show you what has been investigated by the King's College London, that 24% of all new cases of psychosis are associated with the use of high potency skunk-like cannabis. Again, so what's going to be done about this? If this is true, then it's all right doing surveys and stuff. But if you're not going to, what you're going to do about it, then maybe they should ban it. I suppose it is already banned. But of course, I personally think the government turns a blind eye to drugs and things like that. They don't really go into it because they quite like to keep people under. Drugs keep people complacent. People are sat in their bedroom smoking skunk cannabis all day. They're not looking at actually what's going on. How the rich are getting richer and, everything's gone wrong. And what they're sedentary, aren't they? They're not out doing riots or peaceful protest, I should say. I have to say I'm a believer in protest. I'm not a believer in rioting. I don't think that what we saw recently was peaceful protest at all. Throwing bricks at the police, etc. It's not peaceful protest. But I'm for peaceful protest. But people who are smoking cannabis day in, day out, they don't even go out of the house. Never mind, they're not going to go and take part in a peaceful protest. So I personally think the government quite like, I think they quite like people to be, it's like keeping them down, isn't it? They used to say, what Marx said, religion is the opium of the people. Well, now it's like skunk cannabis or, I don't know, it was television for a while, but I think that's fading now, television. People were believing everything that was on the telly, weren't they? My mum and dad's generation. I think now people are questioning more, aren't they? Because they're going into more social media where they can sort of get more opinions, etc. So yeah, I mean, personally, I think drink as well, include drinking. That if people are drinking and taking drugs, they're not really, protesting. So I think it's encouraged because you know what, you have to look up. You shouldn't be looking down or sideways about problems in society. The problem, at the end of the day, the people that got all the money, the people that control everything, they're the ones. Divide and rule is like what they want to do. They want to divide people, like, I don't know, Christians against Muslims, or women against men, or blacks against white, or Asians against blacks, or whatever. Division is the best way you can control a population, because if a population comes together against the people that are really pulling the strings, and really everyone's life's a misery except theirs. If people came together instead of all being divided, then really there would be a problem then. But yeah, so 24, according to this report from King's College London, which you've got to assume they've got, some reputation there. They found that 24% of all new cases of psychosis are associated with the use of high potency skunk-like cannabis. Now, I've seen someone going through psychosis due to cannabis, and I'll tell you what, it's terrifying. So, I'm not saying it happens to everyone. It obviously doesn't. It's what comes from what we were talking about earlier. But what I was told by, as I say, by a psychologist, was this thing, young people's brains, they just can't cope with it because they're not developed. So the risk of psychosis is 3 times higher for potent skunk-like cannabis users and 5 times higher for those who use it every day, according to research from the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology and Neuroscience at King's College London, published today in Lancet Psychiatry. And the findings, based on a study of nearly 800 people aged 18 to 65 in South London, have major implications for prevention of cannabis-associated psychosis, as well as developing new treatments. So it's interesting, isn't it? So compared with those who had never tried cannabis, users of high-potency skunk-like cannabis had a 3-fold increase in the risk of psychosis. The risk to those who use it every day was even higher, a 5-fold increase compared to people who never use. Now, I don't know if she goes on to say about age, but I think as well, it must depend how old you are. If you're 14 and smoking this crap every day, it's not going to be good, is it? You don't need to be a scientist to realize that. Just like if you're 14 and you were drinking a bloody bottle of wine every day, it wouldn't be good, would it? It's different when you're young. You're so as your brain's developing. And what also this psychologist told me was that everybody has got potential for mental illness inside them. Everybody. And sometimes it takes something to unlock it. So it can be a traumatic event, bereavement, or anything traumatic in your life can start off a mental health episode. It can be drugs, it can be alcohol, or it can be a combination. So it's in anyone. There's nobody in this world that is safe from mental health episodes. It's just that sometimes the more the more indicators there are. So say you're 50 and you suddenly decide to start taking skunk marijuana, that's not going to be the same as a 14-year-old who's smoking skunk marijuana. And then if you then decide to drink as well as smoking the marijuana, also maybe you've had a traumatic episode, like maybe you've had a bereavement or something like that. So all those things contribute, and that's what she said. She said anyone at any time in their life can suffer from this, from a mental health episode, but there's all the different factors to take into account. So anyway, so Robin Murray, let me just make sure everyone's behaving themselves. Oh, they are. That's good. So Robin Murray, who's the Professor of Psychiatric Research at King's and senior researcher on the study, stated it is now well known that use of cannabis increases the risk of psychosis. However, skeptics still claim this is not an important cause of schizophrenia-like psychosis. This paper suggests that we could prevent almost 1/4 cases of psychosis if no one smoked high-potency cannabis. And this could save young patients a lot of suffering and the NHS a lot of money. And it could save a lot of families a lot of trauma, because the trauma that the families go through, like mental health is a terrible thing, of course, for the person who's suffering with it, mental health issues. But the family, it's not exactly, a walk in the park for them either, because they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know where to go for help, and especially in the UK, isn't it? They've got your waiting list nearly 2 years long for people with mental health issues. Something's got to be done about it, or these sort of things, they're just going to be happening more and more. Now, I don't know if they are happening more than before or whether I'm just noticing them because of, things like the Southport stabbings or other things like the episode in Bushy with those three poor women that were murdered by the guy who tried to kill himself, but he's still alive as far as I know. They haven't mentioned if he's been discharged from hospital or not, but they did manage in the end to actually charge him with murder, because he then tried to delete himself. Anyway, between 2005 and 2011, researchers worked with 410 patients aged 18 to 65 who reported a first episode of psychosis at the South London and Maudsley NHS Foundation Trust. Of course, psychosis, schizophrenia is a completely different illness, isn't it? You can have a psychosis but not be schizophrenic. It can be induced by this skunk marijuana, and then the good news is it does stop, but it takes quite a long time, to get somebody's mental health back into balance again. So a further 370 healthy participants from the same area of South London were included as controls. A main finding was the frequency of use and cannabis potency, which are often overlooked when determining how harmful the drug can be, are essential factors in the mental health effects on users. And these factors are not sufficiently considered by doctors. And this is what it's not like, oh God, no one should smoke marijuana, it's a terrible thing. It's the potency of it. And believe me, I know, because I've looked into it a lot for various reasons. And it's so complex. As I say, it's not like those little OxoCube marijuana blocks. It's not that. We're talking about a whole different thing when you're talking about skunk like cannabis. It's dangerous. As with smoking tobacco and drinking alcohol, you need a clear public message. When a GP or psychiatrist asks if a patient used cannabis, it's not helpful. It's like asking whether someone drinks. As with alcohol, the relevant questions are how often and what type of cannabis. This gives more information about whether the user is at risk of mental health problems. Awareness needs to increase for this to happen. So there you go. It's just this case. Now, it may be that this case has nothing to do with drug-induced psychosis. It just, as soon as I saw it and saw that it was a 22-year-old man, and, feels like it's a family-associated thing, it just made me wonder. And when they said that it was someone that was known to the family, is it one of the family? It just makes me wonder. So that's why I decided to just bring this up now. Unfortunately, it's too late for this lady, for Alberta. Let me put her picture back up again. It's too late for Alberta, and I hope it's not too late for the people that are the two people that are in hospital. Although they're saying that their injuries are life-threatening. Let's hope that can be turned around somehow. It just shows how much damage can be done with a knife, and it's true. It makes you wonder about guns in America. People talking about reforming gun law. Would it make any difference? Would these people who are determined to cause damage to others, would they just use knives instead? So is there any point in banning guns or whatever? I don't know. So it'll stop you having incidences with guns, but are you going to just then instead have incidences with knives? So I don't know, just something to think about, isn't it? So anyway, okay. So I'll be back, as I say, tonight with the members only carry on chatting. What do you want to talk about? If you're still here, I know there was a couple of the members from there. Have you got a preference between the death penalty? I'm sorry, they're not very bringing back the death penalty, or do you want to talk about what's happened with this super yacht collapsing? Very strange story there, because one of the people that's gone down with it looks like he was in court not long ago, and he was cleared, and his co-defendant has also been killed in a car accident. So what's going on there? So which would you like to talk about? You let me know. I'm going to do a poll anyway on the Carry On Chatting. Tia, what are you doing? So the dog, Princess Tia, she's completely dismantling the sofa. All the cushions are being, I think she's trying to make herself comfy. What are you doing? She seems to have problems getting comfy. Oh, bless. Are you okay? Can you not get comfy? Oh. Anyway. Oh, David's going for the death penalty. Let's talk about David. I know it's very interesting, actually, because this case, I don't know if you've seen any of it on the news, David, but there was a guy executed not long ago, just a couple of weeks ago. Let me see. In America. Anyway, I might not be able to get it up now. I should have prepared it. And it was very interesting because it brought up all the usual questions about the death penalty and whether it's a deterrent, and when it was, all the usual questions every time. And it was on. Oh gosh, sorry, I'll get into that now. But yeah, so it'd be very interesting to talk about it. And of course, there's quite a lot of film of this guy, the particular guy, and what his family had to say, and so very interesting. So we do that. We do that tonight. Okay, I'll see you tonight. And yeah, premeditated murder. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I'm sort of, I feel like I could do it if it was someone who killed my son, or anyone that I loved. But the thing is, just the thought of the state doing it, to me, it just feels strange. But anyway, we'll talk about that tonight. So let's hope these two other people that are in hospital survive. In fact, I'm going to light a candle, not only for Alberta, but for them. Fly free Alberta. How awful. And I'll tell you what, if it was her son or a family member, which I've just got this feeling that it's going to turn out to be a family thing, how awful for her. Anyway, so for Alberta and for the other two that are in hospital. Yeah, thank you, Tommy. Thanks, Seffi. Bye, David. Bye, all. And I'll see you really soon in the next video, as always. And until then, may your God go with you. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. And why not become a member and join in the death penalty talk tonight? Bye.